I wanted to learn mobile app development but I had no clue what to do. I had to figure it out all by myself and got lost multiple times. But now, I released one app to the App Store and I am working on the next one. So if you want to create your own mobile app and use it on your own, here's a roadmap that I wish I had when I was starting. So let's go. Step 1. Learn the basics. Even though AI is gonna take over the world, but you can't really fully rely on it because sometimes AI do make mistakes and you have to debug it. And if you want to debug it yourself, you have to learn the basic of React Native, CSS and JavaScript. I chose React Native to develop my app because it is similar to regular HTML. So to learn the basics, you can find out and learn the most common styles out there like background color, margin, padding, border radius, flex, etc. You can also learn functions, timeouts, and especially async and await. Async await is actually very important, especially if your app have database because it takes time to retrieve the data from the database. These are the things that I recommend you guys to learn because these are basically the most common things that you will use for every app that you code out. All you have to do in this step is actually just get a grasp of what the function actually do and how they work. You do not really have to memorize the syntax and everything. To be honest, I don't even know the syntax of most of the functions. I just refer to them on Google. Understand how use hooks work, especially use state and use effect. Because typically the first step that the app will do is to retrieve data from the database to display it on the app. So that's basically all of the basics that you have to learn or have to understand before you start building it. It is not as much as you think because most of the things that you learn from YouTube courses are not actually applicable in every single project out there and it's only applied to some project. But all you have to do is just to learn the few simple concepts that are needed for every single project. But if your project requires other functions, then you can just learn the function when you're applying the function into the actual project instead of just learning the head of time. Again, you don't have to memorize everything that you see here. You just need to understand what they do and have a grasp of it, what to build. In order to build something, you have to figure out what to build in the first place. Do you have any dream app in mind? Whether it's a fitness tracker or a recipe app or a receipt scanner or something? Or do you have any problems that you face on a daily basis? Maybe you found out that 2 different weather apps give you 2 different data. So you just make an app that just display all the data from all the weather apps. Or for my case, whenever I want to cook something, I do not know what to cook every time and had to waste energy to just think of what to cook. So I make a recipe app to save the recipes that I want to cook for dinner, and then whenever I want to cook something, I just open up the recipe app and then just plan out on what to cook that day. Or another app that I made was a scheduler app because the problem that I was trying to solve is actually using the phone right before and after sleeping. The scheduler app helped me with the wind down routine, and then after the routine, the app will be locked until I finish my morning routine the next day. The morning routine can be meditation, can be journaling, gratitude journaling, etc. Apart from the problems that you might face, maybe there could be problems that your friends or family face, then you can solve the problems as well. Or you can find a popular app out there and then you can figure out how to make it simpler or make it better than the app. There are many app ideas out there, you just have to choose one that interests you so that you can move forward every day, code it out every day. If you're not interested in the app, it is very hard to work on it every single day for a long period of time. Next step, design. Once you figure out the app idea that you want to make, it's time to start designing the app. The first thing that I will do is to sketch out the app on the paper. I'll sketch out the features using squares, rectangles, circles, and then lay the layouts of each page and the user flow and design every pages on the app. Apart from sketching the design on paper, you can use software like Canva or Figma to help design the app. But I don't really use those software because it takes too much time to just design the app. But it might probably worth lots of time in the future, but to me, I just use pen and paper. I will also choose the color palette that I want the app to have. For choosing the correct color palette, my theory is that the colors have to have the same saturation, no matter the hue or no matter the brightness. It's just my theory. But as a rule of thumb, the background stuff like cards should not contrast with the background because you do not want the cards to steal the attention from all the other elements that might be important on the app. Then for the important elements, they should contrast with the background, like the cards and the actual app background. This should steal the attention from the users, whether is it using contrasting colors, contrasting sizes, or contrasting fonts. It should differentiate with the background so that the user will automatically focus on the element. Then in this step, you can also figure out the fonts that you want to use. To be honest, I don't have any tips here because I just asked ChatGPT or Claude on what kind of fonts that they recommend for the kind of feeling that I want the app to have. For example, I wanted a warm, homely feeling for the recipe app. So I asked Cloud on what fonts that they recommend and they chose Inter for the fonts. So I just implemented them into the app and it looks it actually fits the theme. If you do not have any design in mind or have any difficulties figuring out any design or thinking of any design that you want for your app, you can look for inspiration online, such as on Google or YouTube, or you can use AI such as Google Stitch or Base44. Once you have the design, it's time to start building. This step to me is actually the most difficult part because you're starting your project on the blank code editor and you do not know where to start. But don't worry, I have some tips that you can use. For the setting up, you can create your first Expo project. Expo is basically a software to help you create a React Native project to iOS and Android. Because typically in the real world, the iOS app is actually developed using Xcode. And for Android app, it's actually developed using Android Studios. But Expo allows you to develop for both iOS and Android, which is very nice. So the first step is to create your first Expo project, and I have a video on how to do that. Then it's time to set up a Supabase project. The reason I use Supabase is because it's simple to use and there are many resources out there. So when you get stuck or anything or you are debugging, then you can just search online easily and get the answers very quickly. Supabase also allows authentication, so you do not have to learn a new software on doing authentication. To help you set up Supabase is actually in the same video earlier. And then the next step is to figure out the typical structure of a React Native file. In a typical React Native file, at the top is all the imports. This is where you import all the packages, all the other components that are in the other files. And then below that is the start of your actual component. This is where you export the whole component. And it's also where you name your component as well. And below that is typically where you declare your functions, which can also be called using use hooks at the bottom. Some use hooks like useEffect can call the function that you put inside it immediately after the user launches the app. Then after the use hook is the returns, which is what the user will see. As you can see, the structure is actually pretty similar to HTML, just that the tag names are different. For example, div is changed to view, or P is changed to text. All these text should be imported from the React Native at the top. If you want to trigger any function when the user interacts with the UI, it will be called when the user interacts with it. Once you understand the overall structure of a React Native file, it's time to build the features. This is where you put all your inputs, your lists, your navigation, etc. To make this entire process faster, you can ask AI to help you, which I will talk about it later on. After you have started to develop your app, it's time to make it real, which means connecting your app with database like Supabase, which is in the same video as earlier. Learning how to extract, insert data and user into the Supabase database. Doing the authentication stuff for your app like login and sign up page, again same video. Storing and retrieving user data if you need one, and also implementing RLS or row level security, which makes your database more secure so they don't get hacked. A YouTube channel called Quiz actually make a video about how to make your database more secure. Maybe you can check it out. While you're developing your app, it is actually a very good idea to take note of how you solve a specific problem that you encounter while developing your app, so that you don't waste time on figuring out how to solve the problem again the next time you encounter it. For example, I have notes on how to set up Supabase or Expo React Native so that I don't have to waste time every single time I want to set up database to search on YouTube on how to do a certain thing. I just have to refer to the notes or Notion that I created. The next thing is to use AI if needed. Don't be shy to use AI such as ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot or DeepSeek. Nobody's gonna judge you, and it might probably even make coding more fun and less boring. This is not a school project or a job, but if you are doing those, you basically have to learn the functions and syntax and everything. Just keep that in mind. Using AI means you can literally just screenshot the design you have and then paste it in the AI prompt and they will help you code it out. You do not have to do anything yourself. If one AI doesn't satisfy you, you can use multiple AIs if you want to. You can use ChatGPT for maybe smaller problems, for maybe problems in one file, one coding file. Or you can use Claude for maybe problems that may affect multiple files, because Claude allows you to paste in multiple coding files in one prompt, and it is more smart in terms of coding. Or if both doesn't work, you can use DeepSeek as one of them. Or if you are lazy to do something on your code editor, you can ask Copilot to help you do it. Copilot is actually in VS Code and it can help you change the actual code and you don't have to do anything. But sometimes it will make a lot of mistakes and it's not as smart as something like ChatGPT or Claude. For example, one time I wanted to implement super-based image upload to the app. I asked ChatGPT, Claude on how to do that, and none of them give me any solutions that is feasible because Expo doesn't allow a certain function. So I was taking a nap one day and thought of an idea to ask DeepSeek on how to solve the problem, and it actually works well. So when people say you strictly use Claude for coding, I don't really agree with them because you can literally use all of them, and one of them might even help you solve the problem that you have for long periods of time. But sometimes all of the AI can't even solve the problem that you have. That's where you have to debug it yourself. And that's why fundamentals that you learned earlier is very important. To me, solving the problem is actually the fun part of creating any apps. The amount of dopamine that you get when you solve a problem is actually so much, and it just makes you feel good. To help you with this, you can use Google or Stack Overflow or Reddit to help you solve the problem. Stack Overflow is basically the developer's Reddit. And the last step of developing your app is to publish it. I recommend using EAS to help publish because that's part of Expo. And to help you with this is also in the same video that I recommended just now. EAS have 3 different kinds of publishing methods or modes. The first one is development, where you code the stuff outside of your main app. For example, notifications or widget. It is outside of the main app itself because Expo Go don't allow you to code things that are outside of your app environment. So you have to publish your app to development build so that you can code out the features there. The second one is the fun one, where you publish your app to actually use it outside of your code or without running your code. This is where you use the app for real without running the code every time. The functions will work, the database will work, everything will work. Unless there's an error, then the app will crash. If you want to publish the app to the App Store or Play Store, it is done using the third one, which is production build. I recommend using this video to help you with this step. And before publishing your app to the App Store, make sure that your app have proper features and doesn't crash or have any errors. And if your app have account creation or allows you to sign in or sign up, then your app have to have a feature that allows account deletion. This is part of the guidelines. Marketing. Arguably, this is the hardest part of developing any app if you are publishing it to the world. Nobody is gonna know that your app exists if you don't shout at people, hey, my app is here, use it. I can't really give any tips here because I'm still figuring out on how to market properly. But I think that there are many tutorials out there which you can use to follow. And last, keep improving. Once you have developed your app, it is not the end. You will have to keep improving the UI again and again and again. So yeah, these are the rough guide on how you can develop your first app and use it to your app store. I might want to make a course on how to specifically do all this on very specifically so that it can help you to create your first app. But that's the future plan. Anyways, just my opinion. Bye.